Today, President Obama announced creation of a White House Council on Women and Girls. Here he is.
The purpose is very simple: to ensure that each of the agencies in which they're charged takes into account the needs of women and girls in the policies they draft, the programs they create, the legislation they support.
Well, back in December, about 50 women's groups wrote to President Obama and President-elect Obama at that time with this request, quote, "We urge you to create a cabinet-level office on women that will deal not only with the status of women, but with the many inequities women face in our society, our nation, and our world." The Council Obama announced today is not cabinet-level, so is today's action too much or too little, or what? Michelle Bernard is President and CEO of the Independent Women's Forum, and she's an MSNBC political analyst. And Kim Gandy is the President the National Organization for Women, which includes some male members, I'm told. Kim, do you want to have a cabinet-level office, and what's the importance of having such? Because the president didn't go that far today.
Well, I actually was the original drafter of that letter, and we asked for a cabinet-level office to address women's issues, and what we got today was the entire cabinet to address women's issues.
Yeah, the way it's set up, it's called an office. It's under Valerie Jarrett,
yep.
the president's very close colleague and political pal for all those years, a lawyer, a high-level, I think she's assistant to the president.
Yep.
Is that good or bad for you to have a White House coordinated, cabinet-wide effort to focus on issues particular to women?
I don't see why it's necessary. You know, from my perspective, all issues are women's issues, and I think that we do ourselves a lot of harm when we say that there are only certain issues that women care about. A lot of people, when they hear women's issues, they automatically think the only thing you care about is sexual harassment in the workplace and abortion rights. But the interesting thing about this is our feelings were a little bit hurt, Kim, because a lot of women on the right felt like they were ignored and were not invited to sign in on this. So the Independent Women's Forum was not involved. Concerned Women of America was not involved. The Claire Booth Luce Policy Institute was not involved. So what you find now are a lot of people who call themselves, you know, red state feminists or limited government feminists.
But you didn't vote for this guy.
Are wondering.
You didn't vote for this guy.
I actually did vote for this guy.
Now I know how you voted. I figured I tricked you into it.
You got me.
You got me. Voted for Barack Obama. Okay.
You got me.
You are a conservative woman.
I am a free market feminist, and I want to know now, what does that mean? Who's going to define what women's issues are?
Well,
because what
I think Kim can do it better than I can do it. It seems to me you have economic issues on the table right up front.
Sure. Well, the president defined it. He said both in a statement and a speech that they were going to look at economic issues, at issues of work-life balance, at pay equity, at child care, at violence against women, at the treatment of women as employees and as consumers of federal government services. How are women treated across?
Okay, let's take a case like that. You know, like a lot of us, I'm married to somebody, we've had children, my wife has had to adjust to that, deal with challenges I haven't faced as challenging, as tough as she has, and making sure she meets all her responsibilities. Suppose there has to be a government-wide effort to let women work 30 hours a week. Instead of 40 hours a week for the federal government so they can meet some other responsibilities.
Well, and then
suppose there's more home leave for women than there is for men. Maybe some of these things have to be adjusted.
Hey, look, aren't there women's concerns? I always say one of our famous things that we like to say at the Independent Women's Forum is June Cleaver wants flex time. We believe in flex time. We believe in all these things.
The
question is, no, we fight for it too, but the question is,
don't you want a cabinet-level office to do it?
No, I don't, because I feel like I don't need government to negotiate that for me. I can negotiate that with my employer myself. There are all these efforts, for example, to expand the Family Medical Leave Act. One of the things that some people are being left out of the conversation, there are many people who believe that expansion of the Family Medical Leave Act is going to have a negative impact on women, not a positive impact. Because there are a lot of employers who are going to say, my costs are going to go up sky high, so why should I hire women, especially women of childbearing age? They're going to take off for maternity leave. They take care of their families. It's almost giving people silent permission to discriminate against women. So women who have this philosophy should be a part of the discussion.
But they argued that when the first Family and Medical Leave Act passed with what we had now. The business owners said, oh my goodness, this will be terrible if we're forced to give leave to women and even to men who want to take paternity leave. It's going to be terrible for us. It hasn't turned out that way. It has not turned out that way. And in fact, the same people who opposed it back then are now saying this worked out great for us. It increases our employee loyalty. It increases the support that we get, and it makes it possible for us to keep the best employees.
You know what? Both of you are younger than me, I would bet, by a lot. Let me just suggest this. One of the lessons I learned in the last campaign, the hard way, is a lot of women my age feel that and believe and know that they got hurt by the system. Many, many years of getting second-class treatment, of being pushed aside for somebody. I watch Mad Men on television, which is a great series, and it's about that. It's about what happens. The woman's the genius in copywriting in an ad agency. She gets pushed aside. She has the great idea. The dumb guy gets the job because he's buddies with the other guy. It's an assumption. You have to understand.
I do understand. I'm black and I'm a woman. Believe me.
But the earlier generations are still out there in the workplace.
I still get it.
By the way, based on the economy right now, they're going to stay in the workplace until they drop.
Look, I've worked with a lot of women who graduated from law school and told me that they couldn't get jobs in law firms as lawyers, only as legal secretaries. One woman told me that the only reason her law firm allowed her to practice law was because she was doing her husband's legal work.
Yeah.
What did she tell me? The Sandra Day O'Connor story, the former Supreme Court justice.
When she graduated, third in her class from Stanford. Yes, graduated from Stanford, could not get a job with a law firm as a lawyer. She was offered law librarian in a law office, legal secretary in a law office, couldn't get a job practicing law.
So Valerie Jarrett sitting around a council table with the Secretary of State there, who's a woman, the Secretary of Defense, and the others, she's going to tell them how to straighten out their departments in terms of this kind of an issue, in terms of family home leave, in terms of flexi time. Maybe that's a good thing.
And making the federal government an ideal employer, setting a model.
It could be a good idea. It may not be a good idea, but what I'm feeling is that we don't need a massive explosion or expansion of government to take care of women.
Okay, you know how we fought for civil rights the first instance? I should tell you you're a constitutional lawyer. But it was federal contract compliance. It was going after people that did business with the government and making sure they honored civil rights and equal opportunity. So sometimes the government's got to use its own leverage. It doesn't have to go to the private sector. It just has to go to federal vendors to make sure that there's equal opportunity. Well, you're the boss.
Well,
that's your field.
That's how we start. That's you start with setting the example.
Why don't we have an office that's going to look to who takes care of our boys? Who are our daughters going to marry as our boys are falling behind? And they are. We've got a boy crisis.
If you do too good a job, I'll come back with a men's department next year. Anyway, just kidding. Michelle Bernard, thank you for coming on the program. And I'm only kidding.